welcome to episode 3 of this Sears Gamefisher boat build project. Just got back from taking it out on the water. It performed all right. I guess it performed like you'd expect a 12-foot boat to perform. It's not that wide, so it's not the most stable, but the engine ran awesome. The boat worked out just fine. You can stand in it with that grab bar, though I learned that I have to do a little bit more sealing on that. The 5200 alone was not enough, but it wasn't a dire leak, so I fully expected the possibility of taking on some water, which you'll see in the video. I guess there's nothing much more to say except thanks for watching, and stay tuned because I'm about to show you what happened to get to this point.
Flashback.
Next, I need to service this 6 horsepower Suzuki Outboard, which I purchased on Marketplace. It's an 07. Seems to be in really good condition. When I took the cover off, the motor looked like it had not a lot of hours on it. I'm going to start by replacing the lower end gear oil. I'm going to change the motor oil. I'm going to pull the plug, make sure that it's clean, take down the number so I can order a spare, because you always want to travel with the spare spark plug on your boat should you foul one, especially if you only got one cylinder. And something I'll mention before I begin, when you drain the fluid from the lower end, you want to remove the top screw, like the fill screw first, and then the lower screw, because if you undo the lower and then the top won't come undone, well, now you're kind of stuck in a situation you don't want to be in. And I'm going to fill it from the bottom using a pump till it overflows up top.
Alright, great news. I'm seeing fluid come out of the top already, so this thing is full. Hopefully this isn't milky or anything, or no water. We'll see. Nope. Just looks like nice clean gear oil.
Now the trick is just to watch it until it starts coming out of the overflow. There it is. Hopefully you can get an idea of just how clean this engine looks. It doesn't look like a lot of hours. Now this is the oil dipstick, and to top it off. So that means when you transport the engine, this side is supposed to be up and not down when you lay it on its side. It didn't come with the instruction book, so I can't really reference that. But if you look underneath here, there's what looks like a drain bolt there for oil. So I'm going to go with that's the drain bolt, and if I'm wrong, I'll have to do a little more investigation. But yeah, let's change oil. I'm going to go with 1030. So cool thing about this engine is that it has an oil sight glass here. though. It's a little dark in there, but at least I can get an idea of how much oil it needs. It looks like it took like 3/4 of a quart, so I'm gonna go steady and put about a half a quart in. Start putting the dipstick in and checking for the level on it. Actually, it seems like it's settling now. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it looks like about halfway. So it looks like the spark plug is 13/16. Now I'm not sure what the official gap is supposed to be. I'll have to look that up, but I'm just looking to inspect the spark plug and pull a number off of it so I can purchase a spare, as I stated before. Looks like it's got an NGKR BPR6ES. Alright, now that's all that's left to do is put some fuel in here. It looks like it has a selector on the other side, I'll show you, to choose whether an external or internal tank. The thing I like about this engine the most, besides the fact that I've had good luck with Suzuki's, is that this is the largest outboard of the small displacements. 6 is the largest I've seen with an onboard tank. And when you're running small engines like this, I really like not having a hose and having to carry a 3-gallon tank. They get pretty good fuel economy as it is, and so you can just carry an auxiliary tank of any size you want, top it off. And you can see right here, it shows the selector. There's a selector down here for choosing which tank you want to use, whether you're going to hook up an external or the internal. Oh, I just finished cleaning out the fuel tank. It was kind of dirty in there. You can get a look and see. So it's a little bit cleaner now. Of course, I'm showing you the after. But that said, I'm going to change the fuel filter. If you're going to put a new fuel filter in, put the month and date and year on it, so that way the next person knows when the last time it was changed is. And apparently these little cheap red ones, they don't have a direction or either way, so that's good. Like I said, I'm going to put this in, then I'll fire it up.
End of flashback.
Okay, I just want to cut into this part of the video to explain something. I wasn't getting the engine to start, so I was at a crossroads and decided that rather than chase the trouble myself, I'd take it to a small engine repair place, because the last thing I wanted to do was let them inherit my attempts to fix the engine if I was unable. Fortunately or unfortunately, my suspicions were right. The carburetor was gummed up from ethanol fuel sitting in it, and while it sat for a long time, a couple years, maybe 3, and I guess the fuel pump was dirty too. So that was taken out by the place that did the repair, put in an ultrasonic cleaner, reinstalled. I did clean the fuel tank a little bit because there was some crud in there, and but they further cleaned it, so that's good. I did install the new fuel filter, and I did upgrade the fuel line to the next size up, so that, because like I said, I just started chasing the trouble, and I decided to clean the fuel tank, put new fuel lines in, and then when it got to the point where I was like gonna buy a new fuel pump, and I was going to buy an aftermarket carburetor, slap them on and hope that it worked. It looks like that probably would have worked, but I just was like I said, I didn't want to give somebody my attempted repairs and let them try to unengineer what I did.
I can't trust anything else to do the job right. Ah!
So it ended up going to a small engine place. It's now running. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just mount it to the boat, and then I'll do test runs from there.
That's what it looks like when you stand up on the boat from the seat in front of you. So it definitely works for standing up. The boat isn't exactly that stable, so still getting used to it. I can make a bunch of excuses, but it's a little sketchy. Well, I thought I had the boat speedo on my phone, but apparently I deleted that app, so I went with GPS. The boat got on plane pretty quickly. It went to 16 miles an hour. But I think I'm going to call this I'm going to turn around back to the boat ramp and take the boat out because I'm taking on a little bit of water, not too much, but more than I want to from the holes I created, so I'll show you that right now. So it looks like I'll probably just JB weld the bottom of the boat where I did 5,200 because it's not sealing completely with those rubber grommets. But that said, it's floating and it's going, and the 6 horse will get this 12-foot boat 16 miles an hour, according to Google Maps. So, awesome. Thanks so much for following along on this project. If you've been watching this far, I appreciate it. And let's see what other boating adventures we can get into.
Ooh, there's water in here. I wonder where that's coming from. Feels like it's coming from my hole. Yeah, they're coming right out of those bolts.